as summer begins, authorities on New York's Long Island are wondering if they will find more victims of an apparent serial killer. Police still don't know who killed 10 young women and dumped their bodies in a secluded beach area.
Meanwhile, the death of another woman found in that area 6 months ago is being called an accident. Her family says that's a mistake. Tomorrow night on 48 Hours Mystery, Erin Moriarty reveals new evidence in Shannon Gilbert's death.
You know, he's still out there. He could be killing someone as we speak.
Cherie Gilbert's sister Shannon, an escort on a call, went missing from a gated community just 3 miles from the dumping ground of the Long Island serial killer in May of 2010. It was the search for Shannon that led to the 4 victims, young women like Shannon, all linked to the sex trade.
This is the American version of Jack the Ripper. That's the kind of case that this is.
On the last night of her life, Shannon made a 911 call pleading for help, ran from her client's home, and disappeared into the night. Police finally found her body 18 months later in a nearby marsh.
We have located a set of skeletal remains.
Richard Dormer, who was police commissioner at the time, told 48 Hours he believed Shannon's death was not related to the serial killer. He believes she ran into the marsh, disoriented, and drowned accidentally. But then why were her clothes found a quarter-mile away?
You know, that's explainable because she's, hysterical, and she's discarding her possessions as she moves along.
But her clothes?
Her jeans could have come off from running in that environment.
There isn't a scintilla of a reason why she would willingly take off her jeans and leave them behind to run half naked into the swamp.
So Attorney John Ray decided to test the police theory.
We will now proceed into the marsh. And she had abandoned her shoes, and she was walking barefoot through this. It would seem almost impossible for her without cutting up her feet very badly.
The team comes to the place where Shannon's remains were found, just 100 yards from a parkway.
You can see the glistening of some of the vehicles as they pass. So for her to suddenly just give up and die here wouldn't make much sense.
He believes Shannon Gilbert was murdered and says that the similarities between her death and the other women found in the area shouldn't be ignored. You think that Shannon Gilbert was killed by the serial killer?
I believe that the evidence is extremely strong that Shannon Gilbert was killed by the same person.
Erin Moriarty is with us now. Is this credible evidence that perhaps she was killed by the same person?
Well, I think investigators disagree with him, but then think about that. That means there's more than one killer out there. The serial killer, the person we know as the Long Island serial killer, targets women who are by themselves. And in Shannon Gilbert's case, she had a driver. We know the 3 men who were with her. We actually take a close look at these 3 men who saw her in her last few hours. I think it's hard to believe that she was killed by the same person who killed these other women, but then that means there's more than one killer out there if, in fact, the family of Shannon is right and she was murdered. And there's certainly a lot of evidence to suggest that.
Is it evidence that's moving things forward at this point?
Well, it's really hard to know. No one's really talking. But what we do know about the Long Island serial killer is fascinating. I mean, this is someone who likes attention. This is a brazen person who's actually called the family of one of his victims, making up to 8 phone calls and taunting them and then disappearing, not making any other phone calls. He may or may not be familiar with police procedures because he also knew to stay on the phone just so long or where to make phone calls so that he couldn't be traced.
But they're not sure if that means too that he watches a lot of TV, right?
Absolutely, because I think the 3 of us know a lot about police procedures because there are so many of these police procedural shows on television.
What's common to all the killings?
They're all online escorts. They're all vulnerable women. And what's really sad about all this, I'd say in the past, when you would go out, you'd have a madam, someone who knew where you were going. These women all do it online, so no one knows where they went, what time they went, and often these women are never reported missing. So it's really hard to track the killer.
Thank you.
And you can see Erin's full report, The Long Island Serial Killer, on 48 Hours Mystery tomorrow night at 10, 9 Central, right here on CBS.